my thought process was, well, I cast Colin first, so I cast Harry because I saw him in The Ballad of Buster Scruggs and I loved his performance. I thought he had like a very fascinating ability to be totally magnetic while playing a very kind of downtrodden, in some ways marginalised character. And then I went and watched all of Harry's stuff, and I thought that across his work there was this incredible magnetism in roles which aren't written as magnetic, roles which are written as quite low status. And then when Harry said yes, I thought about who'd be great opposite him, and I've been watching Succession, and I thought that, you know, obviously Alexander is kind of like physically something, but I liked how in Succession he was also like psychologically dominating the Ray children. He felt like the power player psychologically in that part. The first scene which I wrote was the wrestling scene, and I've always been into
asking the audience to feel sorry for him at the beginning of the movie would be really problematic, I think, in terms of understanding his journey. You know, the reason why Colin maybe has not arrived in a place has got nothing to do with some sort of tortured environment that he lives in. He has so much support from his parents, almost too much support, it's got nothing to do with that. It's something in himself. He hasn't quite locked into something that he desires or needs or understands yet. And then the story is about him, you know, being offered a gateway into something that is very clear that he needs to pursue this. He has to chase this down. And so the fact that, you know, we're not asking the audience for sympathy, we're not going, you know, if he gets an R, it's not because, you know, it's sad. It's because hopefully that moment has come from something that's actually happening in the movie. It's not something that I'm commenting on for you to feel a certain way. So all that stuff was really important to protect and to look after, because it would have been too easy to have done that with this kind of script. But that was, again, down to Harry Lighton's writing and his direction.
It was more like confirmation of what I thought, but it's you know, how broad a church kink is, and, you know, even within something quite specific like a gay bike gang, it's not one size fits all. There's, you know, I went and interviewed hundreds of gay bikers in the kind of research process of this film, and they all have their own lives and their own ways of practicing, and so it was really kind of important after that research process to not depict them as some kind of monolith. And I think that often depictions of kink can be quite two-dimensional. It becomes only about the sex and not about anything to do with the more holistic person behind it. So that I just wanted to find a way to contemporize biker lovers, to, you know, bring them into 2025, and she went out and took, you know, loads and loads of research photos, and that's how we kind of landed on the more racing kind of functional leathers which you see in the film. And specifically Alexander's leathers, he actually didn't want to wear cream, I remember. He said he didn't look good in cream, and I begged to differ, and that was the costume. It was the costume designer's idea, because there's a lot of scenes at night, and she didn't want him to get like lost in black in the night. And I really love the green leathers. I think they're great.
Yeah, it was, the costume was vital, I think, in terms of charting Colin's journey from this inexperienced guy to someone who is experienced, who knows what he wants. And Grace Snell was amazing at sort of collaborating and working out how to do that. And certainly, I mean, you know, when we first see Colin, he's sort of wearing oversized shirts and ill-fitted trousers and has lots of hair. And then the hair comes off and he gets into his sort of tight leathers, and it just changes your physicality. It changes, you know, you feel empowered by wearing that. You feel like there's a strength to you, which I kind of thought was fascinating in terms of working out how Colin sort of moves through the piece. So the costume was a pivotal thing, really, in marking those changes for Colin, and subtly as well. It didn't feel like there was a big change, but just slowly, step by step, he sort of moved towards a place of understanding what he wants from love, I guess, and how he wants to express it.
And were you adjusting how funny or how sad or how earnest or how kind of poker-faced you wanted this to be, even as you were editing the film?
Yeah, it was definitely always a goal. A critic in England described it as like a BDSM Wallace and Gromit.
I hope that's on the poster.
Sadly, I think they decided that it was too British a reference for America, which clearly not. But you know, in all seriousness, like those are the kind of British comedies which I grew up in, and that like vein of slightly slapstick, fumbling British humour I really relate to and like. And with this, I always thought that humour would be like a great tool to, you know, Harry spoke about inviting an audience in. You want it to kind of have quite rough edges between stuff which is confronting to an audience and stuff which hugs them. And I think that humour is a great way of letting an audience breathe and letting them, you go, okay, I don't have to run out the cinema at this alley scene because maybe there's a gag coming out, a different kind of gag.